Please give me some noise. Today we will be like Oppenheimer, but we won't deconstruct an atom. We will deconstruct a game. Why? All this stuff will tell us Yelyzaveta Lemeshko. Applause, please.
Thank you for introduction. Thank you for finding time to come to the English lection in the end of the day and in the end of the conference. So yes, I'm Yelyzaveta, and we will talk about decomposition of games in the process of designing system for your own game. Yes, it will be a long title and it will be a long and concentrated lection. So you can make notes and please feel free to ask me the questions if you will have. As always, we will start from the introduction about me, and I will be as much quick as I can. So I'm the game designer at Bigpoint at Hamburg, and my main project is CFight, and also our team working currently on an announcement project. So stay tuned with this. As a background, I have the master degree at Kyiv Academy as applied mathematician, also woman in games ambassador of Ukraine. And if you are interested in game design in Ukrainian, there is a podcast called, I will translate it to Ukrainian, Game Design Українською, where I'm posting the game design tips on the YouTube channel. So feel free to subscribe. And also, if you didn't check yet, we have the project in the Indie Blast called Delusion Out of Space from the Unicorn Studio, where I'm helping with game design assistance. Now we can start about the deconstruction. I will start with a quote. So understanding a game is like understanding the language. And decomposition is a grammar that allows us to understand and create new, meaningful sentences in the language of game design. It just as an introduction, how you can, understand the meaning of the deconstruction. So, questions that we will try to answer, right? So I'm not the guru, not the expert in game design, and we have only 1 hour, right? 4 questions. How we can effectively decompose, how we can gain the insights. Can game decomposition support innovation in game design? I answered already, yes. And how does modular design contribute to game decomposition? Again, we will try to do very intensive lection. So, and again, starting from the definition, game decomposition is the process when you breaking down complex games into smaller components for more efficient development. And that's why developers can focus on individual parts of the game. For example, mechanics, art, story, and iterate on them separately before integrating to the final project, right? And there is 2 ways we are using decomposition. First of all, we decompose someone's game and we decompose our own game, right? But the techniques that we will discuss today works in both ways, for someone's game and for our own. So, decomposition benefits. We can improve efficiency by using game decomposition techniques, by reviewing game and again to understand what is work better, what should be redone, and etc. Optimized development. We can understand what feature is working, what is not, and we can quickly adapt in different components or mechanics. And last point, cohesive gameplay, which means we need to see and feel that all aspects of our game are fully realized. It feels, harmonic and everything is working, right? That's what we want. Well, we will discuss next approaches. They using maybe the same structure, but I hope you will find one of them new for you, because I'm sure that there is a lot of game designers here and you are using the game decomposition. So approaches that we will discuss today is systematic, top-down and bottom-up, modular, player-centric, and competitive. And they using, different layers of the gameplay, right? And you can use one of the technique after the lecture or continue using, or you can combine, or you can, during the lecture, understand what are you using now, what is working, what you do know already, and what is new for you. So we will start from the game as a system. Right. Game is a complex system and it includes components and also has balancing, analysis, and feedback mechanism. We will talk now about steps, pros and cons, and also what insights you can gain. So it will be again very step by step. So game as a system, we're starting from the identifying key components. So what we have, for example, characters, levels, mechanics, and storyline. After that, we analyze individual elements, like how our character working, or what mechanics we have, or what monetization mechanics we have. And we need to understand each function and each role, and how it will contribute to whole gameplay. Then we define the map interconnection. We understand how our key components working with each other. And we creating on this step already diagrams or flow charts to visualize connections. After that, we identify weaknesses and strength of our project or someone's project, right? So we need to understand, for example, you can use on this step the SWOT analysis. I'm pretty sure you know what is it. And we need to understand actually what is pluses of our mechanics or whatever, right? And what is not working. And we need to create the highlights for improvement. And now, depends on what are you doing. Are you decomposing someone's game, or you decomposing your own game? We can follow to the next steps. We can implement changes based on the analysis and based on the insights. Then we can consider the impact to player experience. By the way, we will talk more detailed about player experience, but a little bit later. And also, using the decomposition, we can adapt in time and on budget. So game designers actually are superpower people. Then we test and evaluate. We understand what modifications we can do in the design, and we can, on this step, collaborate with different teams, with developers, with testers, to understand what changes we can make. And actually, this technique working not only for testers, right? Game designers, please play your game as well as doing the testers, because it's very important. All right, so far we can reach next key learnings. We can understand game complexity, how our game is complex, how many mechanics it has. Then we can identify pluses and minuses of our project and deal with it. Then we can work on collaboration and communication. Then strategic resource allocation means a budget, and we can optimize what we can do now, what we can do later, or not doing at all. Players' experience and risk mitigations, which means we can already erase something from the projects when we understand that it will not work. Well, sometimes we understand after the deploying, but it's very depends. All right, it was the first technique. Time for small water.
Please
Right.
applause.
All right. Next two techniques I took from the game design cognition area of the game design. It's called top down and bottom up. These approaches using in the way when we define the game, or again we decompose or deconstruct someone's games, right? And it depends how you see your game. It's on the early beginning of the project. If you're creating the game, you can start from the character or whatever. I will explain with more details in a minute. So can we apply these two approaches from game design cognition as a decomposition? Yes, we can. So we start from the top-down approach. Top-down approach, you can see the diagram, right? So we going from the concept, then the context, core, mechanics, and verbs. So this approach means we breaking the game into the levels, characters, game mechanics, and etc. It's very useful when you're working on your game and you have or you want to create a high-level overview for the game. And you need to identify what is core major elements for your game, right? So there is a process. You have the clear alignment, and you know what the goals will be. You have the guidance, and you have the feeling of the flow in your design. And minuses, it risks of, losing some details. So sometimes game designers, yes, we're people, and we can miss something. So this approach can bring us to the problem when we are missing something, right, in the deconstruction. And when we are going, starting from the high level, it brings some limiting of the creativity. That's why you can go to the opposite way, right? Bottom-up approach, which means you're going from the smallest elements, from the entities like, I don't know, a flower as an entity, right? From the coin, from the script, I don't know. Depends on your game, right? And it's very useful to ensure that all of the smallest elements are defined and listed. So as a process, you have, a brainstorming, and you can bring a lot of experimentation and innovation on this component level, right? So you can, change the list of entities, you can change the functionality, whatever. It's your creativity. And as a minuses, it's again losing, the overall vision. So as you can see, comparing these two approaches, previous one was the macro level of the construction. This one, it's a micro level, which means you're looking very deeply into details, and you can actually, you have a chance to lose the bigger picture. So it's useful to go in the both ways. All right. Then we have a question, when we use what? As you can see, I already mentioned everything from this, but here is the insight. Depending, do you have a strong vision? Do you have the large-scale project or a small one? Do you have a kind of risk management, or do you have, do you want to create the design, or you are deconstructing the player-centered design? You can go on the one way or to another one. Or even you can try the both ways. For example, one designer will try the first approach, and second one will try another approach. So again, it's your way of deconstructing. All right, next one. Next one, it's modular decomposition. Well, maybe you heard about the modular game design. And some of the content that I will provide you in a moment are very correlated with design game as a system, right? The main goal of this approach, we using the modules of the game but not the components of the game as a system, right? So you can find from the next 5 minutes of my explanation what the difference, but I will surely explain. So, game as a modular structure. You can see already similar steps that we have in modular structure and a game as a system. We're starting from the identifying models. So what components we have and what functions of these actually components. We understand what the characters, levels, behaviors we have, and what the interactions and purpose of these elements. After that, we creating individual units and ensure compatibility, which means from the second step, you understand what models working, what probably will not work, and how we can see all models in the general picture as a one big game system. But before you will implement something, you need to test it, right? Test separately. So you picking every model of your game and you need isolate it for testing, right? Is this function, is this mechanic will work separately, right? Again, you can be chaotic game designer, but you need, again, to test, everything to test, right? Because if some developer or tester will spend resources like time and budget, you will have problems after that. So you test models separately, you isolate it and you validate. After that, you integrate models, model by model, into the game. So you making sure again that you create the coherent gameplay, and again you check that everything is working in harmony. And after that, as always, we need to adjust something, or we need to isolate and retest again, and we need reuse the opportunities. All right. So again, my question that I have a few minutes before. As you find out already, I hope so, that modular and systematic approaches working actually in similar way. But there is one difference, right? Focus, okay, two differences. Focus and purpose. So modular decomposition working when you want to create independent models and you have the resources to test it separately to make sure that you will provide later on flexible development, right? So you implement one mechanics, all right, you test and implement second one, and yada yada. When we're talking about system decomposition, we understand the game as a a big organism, and which has the hierarchy and functional relationship. All right. So you can see the key learnings from this, and I will drink a water. All right, we in our Mediana. So now we will talk about the player-centric perspective. It's another one, again, and this is based on the player, right? Because we're creating games not only for ourselves, but also for player, right? And we want that player will enjoy our game, understand it, and will spend as much time as we want and is planned and yada yada, and spend money on the game. Inside or after before purchasing or after purchasing, depends. So what's the step? What's the flow of this? We identify player experience components, and we understand what challenges, what aesthetics, what narrative, what social interaction we have, and we analyze how these components contribute. After this, we analyze individual components, right? We breaking down as much as we can, and we receiving the feedback, analytics, and observation. Again, as a game designers, for example. So please, game designers, read what players thinking about your game. It's very important because, you know, if you prefer to work on the feature and not reading what players think about this, I'm not sure about what will go with your game later on. So you identify areas of improvement. You analyze reactions of the player, how they love or how they hate your game. Then you make the target. I'm sorry, my English getting broken, and adjustments. And we need to understand what the problems we have for different type of the player. Oh, yeah. And after that, we evaluate how many changes we have, and we need to iterate. But also, we need to understand: can we implement some changes for the player or not? Because players can ask you for create another game, or, you know, remove everything or rebalance everything, and you need to consider: can you implement this change or not yet? All right. And key learnings: you understand players' needs and preferences, you use iterative design, and you reading the feedback, and you, as a result, have chance to build the loyalty in your community. Well, some cases from the real life. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm working on a project called Fight in Bigpoint, and I decided to implement the new sale feature. So now you can use all information that I provided before about the type of the decompositions and understand what type of the decompositions I used. So I went to the Discord channel and read, the feedback of the community about the sales mechanics. And I understood that we can implement something interesting and something fresh for them, because game is older than 15 years old, right? And we need to create something fresh. Some of the mobile games using the custom packages, right? So players can pick from the list of the resources they actually want and they need to the package, and then purchase for the fixed price. Well, now when we receive the player's feedback, we can implement to the game that we have. But wait, we need to deconstruct our own game using the model deconstruction strategy and see, can we actually integrate this model? Because there is a huge amount of sales mechanics so far, and is it usable? So here is the first mock-up that I did, but after the discussion with the UI team, we understood that we need some adjustments. And as you can see, the final result from the game and how it works, so players can pick the type of ammunition, cannons, crew members into the game and create their own packages. You can actually just imagine how happy players was when they can choose for what they can pay, right? By themselves. And as a result, after this, analytics can actually understand what players actually choosing and what they want to buy later on. So some insights from this and a real case. So what type of decomposition was used? Players, a modular one, and you can see the result. Oh my, yes, we're almost done. So comparative decomposition. It's a strategy when you need to compare your competitors, right? You need to analyze them and understand in what they are winning, in what they are losing, what mechanics worked, what mechanics didn't, and you need to do your best to implement everything that is working and avoid everything which is not. And you need to identify the similarities and differences between the game in one game and another and made the decision. I would like to speed up the process, and here is the full flow that you can read for this type of the decomposition. So first of all, you select the games that you want to compare. Later on, you break down into the components. Then you making comparison across the game by reading from line to line what components you can use, what you can avoid, and you identify similarities and differences with your game or with the game you want to create. You identify patterns and trends, and then you formulate insights and recommendation for your team, what we can do and what we should avoid, like for the development, for innovation, or for market. All right, I will not read this. So later on, you will have the chance to grab the PDF file from me of this presentation to use this comparative decomposition category list for how you can actually go with this type. You have the list of the game features or for the game specific, how this game placed on the market, and what the target players. But as a suggestion, go with at least 3 competitors, and not only for the mobile or the PC, depends on your game. Go in the both ways, for the PC and for the mobile. But it depends, again, in a lot of the questions that you can ask yourself. And few influencers, which means not the similar game, but the game you can be inspired of. So it could be, for example, tycoon game, but you can use the adventure one. But you're obsessed with the narrative and you want to implement your narrative to the tycoon game. So why not? It can be as influencer. All right. How I can choose a strategy? As always, if you have a question, you have a question, you need to ask yourself a question, and here is some answers. Are you looking to understand player behavior? Then you need to go with the player-centric. You want to understand the market better and compare different games? Then you're going with comparative. You want to reuse some components from another game, or you want to make some changes? You can go with the modular one. And also you can ask yourself, what are the project constraints and what is the scale and complexity of the game? So again, on what you need to focus as a game designer, as a game developer. You have the innovation goals, right? Because every game that we're creating should bring something new to the world, right? And you need to provide the unique experience for the player. Or not the unique experience, but something that will help them to, I don't know, answer some questions, whatever. Depends on your game. You need to answer for the audience needs, what they want, and use iteration approach. And you need to focus on your game's core vision, right? Well, keywords from the presentation. We can skip the 40 slides from this. There's the answers for everything. Well, so that's it. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. All right. The first one.
Thank you very much for your beautiful, brilliant discourse.
You can ask me in Ukrainian.
I think it will be better if
Sure, please.
you take in English. Can you give us some other example, maybe based on core mechanic and your own experience of deconstructing the game and changing it?
From my own experience.
Sure. Or maybe not your own, but experience you can give us as an example.
Yes, let me think. All right. One of my side projects that I'm working on, but I will not give any details. I thought about controlling. So, for example, it's a character that it's top-down view, and there is a classic controls that we have. So you need to, move the finger, and the character will rotate or whatever. And first of all, I needed to see how it works in other games because I'm not too strong in UI and I needed to inspire it. So I deconstruct few games in the controlling mechanics. And after that, I pick the best realization of it and then made a few changes in UI and implemented. It depends on what purpose was for the deconstruction.
Thank you. And another one question. You make a point about difference between intuition and evaluated.
Let me find
Yes,
this
yes.
one.
With the cat, that was slide with the cat.
Ah,
Mm.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, one.
So, do you use some methodology for evaluation for evaluation of your key features of your decomposition?
Well, yes. As I mentioned, the simplest one will be going to the Discord and read my feedbacks, my flashbacks. I'm sorry. So feedback from the players, and in the background, I had the experience working as a game economist, and I needed to gain some data from the analytics. And when we created the tutorial for the game, we needed to learn on what step players are dropping and leave the game because it was a high competitive genre, and we need to understand what is working and what is not. Is it too complex tutorial? We need to simplify it. Is it the step when the player gets stuck because it's too much time waiting? Or we too early brings the monetization? So for example, player stuck, oh, you can buy something. And we needed to identify the steps on what moment players are churn. And so it was using all the data.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Hi, my name is
Hello.
Mikola. Thank you for your great lecture.
Thank you.
I want to ask about the modular decomposing.
Yes.
And it's one of the decomposing that is pretty hard for me to understand.
Mhm.
And the point of it that you can break your game on the modules, like in mechanics, for example, but and you can evaluate them. But in the end, you will have your mechanics can be great while they're separate, but invalid like a whole system. So how to choose that? For which purposes is better to use that modular decomposition, and when it is the best instrument?
Oh, well, so how to answer this very shortly? Oh, well, it depends on what stage you have the project. If you have the clear vision of the project and you need to choose the modules for your game, and well, you can stuck with the problem with you have the list of the modules, but it will not work. Well, one day you will need to make the decisions, but one of the suggestions that I can make so far, you need to test several prototypes and combine different modules. For example, you have the prototype A, and you list the modules that you want to play and test. And then you have separately the prototype B with the different modules. So you're making the suggestions what will work and what will not. So sometimes intuition doesn't work. You need to spend some time of combining different modules and understand, well, is it working or not? If you're getting stuck to understand what is working or not, give someone to play. Someone who didn't know the game. So, for example, from another team, bring someone for the coffee or or leave the message. Hey, can you check this up? Do you understand everything? Do you feel that it's working? So few suggestions from me so far. First, make several prototypes, and second, ask someone to play. Hope it will help.
Thank you.
And the next question.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Thank you for your insights.
Thank you.
And I want to continue with this topic.
Mhm.
I had a question about A and B testing,
Mhm.
and also about PlayStation. So I want to ask you: do you use systematically A/B testing, and does it have some disadvantages because you didn't say you use it currently? So.
Mhm. Well, from the project that we have, let me think. Again, very depends on the project because, for example, for the game that already has more than 10 years on the market, it has this target auditory, and we have the intuition what will work or not. For example, we don't need to do A/B testing for, do I want to create this class or I want to create this class into the system and integrate, because we understand how system works so far, and we already see from our players what they will get and will love and what they will hate, right? And about the A/B testing, well, it's my experience. Let me think. Yes, it will be about the tutorial development, right? So, for example, we made one flow for A target, no, A group, and another tutorial for the B group. And we understood the feedback from the players, and we understand what is working better.
Yeah, I think really good idea to use this A/B testing when you want to come up with idea to some
Yes.
bundles for
Yes.
shop, probably colors and other
Yes.
stuff. And what about something like systematic play session in your team? Like
Yes,
system.
in our workflow, it's like, in a lot of teams that I worked, we use the iterative playtests. So we make the iteration, hey guys, check it out, and we play this. It could be, again, in the work time, and everyone sit, for example, in one call, and we play together, and we understood, hey, this is working, this is not working, I need to replay it. And I would like to mention this again. Game designers must play together with the developers and the testers, so everyone will understand what the game about, and it will be much quicker interactions and iterations in the team, and they will understand what is working. So it's very good not only for the product development but also for the team team building. And yes, we used this approach of play tests very actively because it's amazing opportunity to build your game and understand what is working, what is not. So,
Thank you very much.
and one more thing. It's about that one of our games has the moderators. So, for example, players, we develop the feature, then moderators test it, and then they leave the feedback, and after that it can be deployed. So it's kind of the players who understand the game the best. They testing, they playing, they understand, well, it's working, guys, or well, you need to rebalance something, and after that,
Like alpha testing into the some really fans.
it's fun and fans as well. You can imagine if you implement the new feature and you can send this feature in the early access to your group of the fans, they will be, I don't know, they will love you even more than they did. So yes, you can play with it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Who will be the next one? I'm here.
Thank you.
Hello,
I'd
thank
like
you.
to ask you a question. You're into development and you have some negative reviews of testers, and but you haven't done all the features yet. So, what do you say? The integrity of a vision or players' feedback?
It depends on the what stage of of the project we have, but we always listen to our developers and testers as well, because again, we actively playing our own games, right? And we gaining them as much feedback as we can. So probably if the game designer make the decision that this feature must be implemented to the next build, and the tester said, no. And you need to ask why. So, you know, the arguments. If these arguments, because of the testers just doesn't like this game or this feature, right? Or it's more about the question of the, you know, your own purposes. So it's just the type of player who will not like it. So probably the solution for this will be make another iteration together with the game designers and see and ask someone else as well. So another group of players to compare. Is it problem with the feature or the problem with the developer?
And the follow-up question is, how do you know if the vision is faulty?
Well, it depends on, it depends. I can, you know, make it as a quote. The thing is, in the early beginning, you need to play the similar games, right? And you understand what is working on the market and what is not, right? And when you develop your first vision, well, intuition again doesn't work always. So you need to test it and play it. Only, you know, straightforward way. Not, I can't give you, you know, very quickly a quick answer so far for this. Just testing, you know, gaining the vision, the feedback from the other games, and make the suggestion and try to test it on your players so far.
Thank you.
I hope it helps. Thank you.
Any questions? We need more hands. If no,
we have. Wait.
oh yes, yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for saturate and useful very this presentation speech. So I like to ask you. So I game designer. My name is Alexander, and I know too much in this in this direction in the decomposition. So I want to ask which tools you use to collect data and represent you. This is to your team, or archive this data to another your sensors.
All right, let me think again. If I want to gain the numbers, I'm going to the analytics and seeing the data, right? If I want to read, I'm asking the admins and support, please read the comments and give me insights, because sometimes better to ask someone to read because of the amount of messages. We like our players. So to follow the question, I'm using as simpler as possible Discord, data analytics tools, and the Excel actually to bring everything.
Okay, I want to specify a little. So this is like your information is organized data.
Yes.
So like structure in a mirror. So like branch, and you see this information in big picture too.
I see. Well, depends what feedback we want to get, and usually if we're going for the type of game that has the events, it's like getting as much information as we can from the players, and actually it could be simply the confluence pages, and there is like the list of questions, for example, how different players from the different countries like our game, right? And there is like the concentration of the information, what the mark of the game, what's the score of the feature, what they like, what they want, what they don't want to see anymore, and what they want to see in the next iteration. basically that's all what we need to do so far, because some players love to write a lot, I'm sorry, to make the game better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see the next one.
Thank you. To the last question, do you use some mind maps or diagram representation of structure you want to represent it, actually?
Well, did I say it depends? Yeah. Yes, it depends very much. And on the early stages of the feature development, yes. For the later on, after the presenting the feature to the team, for example, it is better to create the documentation and with following the diagrams. So yes, but the diagrams, it's more about using the Boolean logic. If, then, otherwise, and yada yada. So as simply as possible. Thank you.
All right. If we have no questions, please applause to Yelyzaveta. Thank you for
you.
your lesson.